All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Deontay Wilder can win the rematch, the trilogy rematch against Tyson Fury. So says the young prospect of the year from Golden Boy Promotions, Virgil Ortiz. So this video, it gave me a wonderful excuse to do two things. One, talk about Virgil Ortiz, who I think is an excellent fighter. And also talk about what he said about Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury and the funny thing about things that happen when you fight a fighter a bunch of times. But let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Virgil Ortiz, the young welterweight, just moved up from 140 to 147 out of this great state of Texas, who was I do believe he's the Ring Magazine, and I will speak of Ring Magazine positively in this video, not something that I usually do, but I'll run with it here. I do believe they got it right with their pick for the prospect of the year in 2020. Virgil Ortiz, a monster, man. Very aggressive, but very still technically sound. Goes to the body. Excellent. I think he's an excellent fighter. Has a really big upside. Young fighter. I don't think he's but maybe 21, 22 years old, something like that. But just a very good fighter, and somebody that I hope winds up having a fight with another young, excellent fighter around the same weight class as him, which is a guy named Jaron Boots Ennis out of the great state of Pennsylvania, in the city of Philadelphia. I believe he's actually from Philadelphia in the great state of Pennsylvania. So, as far as me having my radar for fights that are down the road, along with fights like Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, another fight I think is going to happen is like a Shakur Stevenson versus Gervonta Davis. Those type of fights, you see down the road where, well, I guess those two guys are champions, so those are a little bit further. But you get what my point is. You see over time that these fights are going to match up. I'm hoping that one of those great fights is going to be Jaron Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz. Now, Virgil Ortiz said something in that interview when he was asked to comment on the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fight, and he had me thinking, because personally, I'm not a big fan of the rematch right away for Deontay Wilder, because I just think that he's done a lot of work in the heavyweight division, and a good rest for him, I think would really do him well, do his mind real well, and also let things play out in the heavyweight division. And because, dude, he's he's the number two. Got to give Tyson Fury number one. He's the number two heavyweight in the world, in my opinion. And with his style, with his ability to fight, the guy has a chance to beat anybody. Still has a chance. Will beat pretty much everybody, and has the ability to beat Tyson Fury. Now, when Virgil Ortiz said it, he was like, he got beat. He didn't look. He's talking about Deontay Wilder, saying, Deontay Wilder just didn't look that right. Didn't really look right. And he said, man, you should probably be more concerned with the fight than how you look going into the fight. So, you might want to, not done that. Like, I don't know why you'd want to go through all that anyway. But then he said, hey, man, Tyson Fury did his thing, but I would take Deontay Wilder in a rematch, because Deontay Wilder is going to come out a lot more hungry, and he thinks he'll be able to win the rematch. Now, the reason I think that's important is because this having more than one fight, things happen. I always talk about people always talk about how the heavyweight division is built on power, and really anybody at any given time can beat somebody else, because these are all very big men who carry a lot of power, who have the ability to catch you. So when people fight 3 and 4 times, different things happen. So take, for example, one of the latest times where people have had more than 3 fights, right? More than 2 fights, either a trilogy or the 4th fight took place. You see things like, well, the one that I'm thinking of specifically is the Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao fight. Now, Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao, one was a draw, because Juan Manuel Marquez was knocked down by Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Marquez gave him a lot of really good rounds, close rounds, and it winds up being a draw. But then the next two fights, Marquez on the scorecards wins both of those. And I think he won both of those, if not by a wide margin, but, he won the decisions. So then what happens in the fourth fight? Well, in the fourth fight, Manny Pacquiao gets knocked out, flat on his face knocked out. So the series wound up being for Manny Pacquiao 2-1-1, right? For Marquez, it was 1-2-1. But that's a four fight, and say, for example, that they had a fifth fight, because Manny Pacquiao, to Manny Pacquiao's credit, wanted a fifth fight. What happened in what? You can't tell me that for sure that Juan Manuel Marquez was gonna knock out Manny Pacquiao again, and that Manny Pacquiao couldn't have somehow gotten a decision, or somehow Manny Pacquiao couldn't have knocked out Juan Manuel Marquez, right? So the idea that because a fight turns out one fight turns out a certain way doesn't necessarily mean the second fight's going to turn out that way. Definitely not that the third fight's going to turn out that way, or the fourth fight's going to turn out that way. You can look at the Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier. It's another example of that. In the first fight, Muhammad Ali had taken some time off, but he lost that, and he really did lose the fight. That wasn't a situation where it was up for grabs whether or not who really won that fight. Joe Frazier, I think it was in the 15th round, knocked Muhammad Ali down, and he sewed up the victory. Well, what happened in the second fight? Muhammad Ali beat him pillar to post. It was an easy fight. If it wasn't an easy fight, it was a one-sided fight in the next time. So you could say, okay, well, Deontay Wilder, I keep switching to Deontay Wilder. Muhammad Ali really was, he was just off in the first fight because he had so much time off and he didn't get a chance to get back. So they ran it back, and, then Muhammad Ali really showed who he was, and he won the fight. He won the fight easily. So no need for a trilogy, right? No need for a trilogy. The trilogy was supposed to be over with. The whole thing should have been over. No, what need was there to have a third fight? But in the third fight, what happens? You have pretty much a life or death struggle between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Because Joe Frazier fought a better fight he fought his best fight in the first, and then his performance went down and he lost the second. Then he revitalized himself and went at him in the third. There's no reason that same thing couldn't happen with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. You had a very close fight in the first incident where Deontay Wilder knocked him down. The second fight, Tyson Fury wins in a dominant fashion. And then in the third fight, you could have another close fight, or you can have a fight where Deontay Wilder knocks him out. It could wind up being either the Juan Manuel Marquez Manny Pacquiao scenario, or it could be the Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier scenario. And there's also obviously, the scenario that with Joe Louis and Max Baer. The first time he fought Max Schmeling, excuse me. First time Joe Louis fought Max Schmeling knocked him out. It was that wound up looking like a one-sided fight for Max Schmeling. So when they get the rematch, hey, should be the same thing, right? No. It's the exact opposite. Joe Louis made a couple correction, winds up stopping in the Max Schmeling in the first round. Because you have more than one, the more times you have a fight, the more times you have an opportunity to overcome. You see that in tennis as well. You see that in basketball. You see it in all kinds of sports where the teams have to play each other multiple times. That's what you have in a playoff series. How many times, as great as the Chicago Bulls, the 96 Chicago Bulls were, they won in game 6. I do believe, with the exception, there were several, I'll say several of the Chicago Bulls championships came over 6 games. Because there wasn't going to be there wound up because there wasn't a sweep. Because there were situations where the team who ultimately lost was good enough to pull out a game. And that's what you have in boxing if you have people fight multiple times. So that's the whole idea that people are saying, oh, that's done. We don't even need to talk about Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury anymore. That, no rematch, no more rematch there. We all know what's going to happen. No need to see it. That's an excuse. That there is an excuse for why you don't want to have something done that you just don't want to have done. Anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section, man, and definitely keep an eye out for Virgil Ortiz. That young man can fight. And with that, I'm out. Peace.